Hello.
Hello, this is the Crazy for Cult podcast. I'm Vanessa Cozini, and I'm crazy for all things cult. We're uncensored, unscripted, and slightly unhinged. There will be spoilers, there may be blood. With me today is Stephanie Bray. You may remember her from previous episodes. And Steph has some fun things to plug today.
Yes, I am part of Geek Fashion Week, a project that we're doing our kind of soft launch or our like introduction at Kamikaze, which this year runs Halloween, the 1st and the 2nd at LA Convention Center. There are still tickets available. And Geek Fashion Week is anything and everything geeky in fashion. And not specifically cosplay. We're talking fashion, from t-shirts, earrings, purses, which is all my interest, to subtly working your stuff into flat-out couture and everyday business wear. So any and all genres are welcome. And you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Geek Fashion Week.
And that's spelled WK for the week part.
And on Tumblr and Pintrest at Geek Fashion Week.
Where week is fully spelled out.
And if you have any questions, you can email geekfashionweek42@gmail.com.
Because the answer to everything is 42.
Yes.
So that's some fun stuff we're going to be putting in the not the comments, but the little area below the video, whatever that's
summary.
Called.
We're going to call it a summary.
It's called.
Oh, and there will also be a panel. We're not sure what day yet, but I'll be on it. Yay! My first panel ever.
We're super excited.
Yes.
So today we are wearing
superhero shirts.
You can't quite see it, and those listening can't see it at all, but she has Hawkeye.
Yes,
So
of course.
stand up just a little bit. There you go. Hawkeye! And I am Deadpool on a mountain of tacos.
Yes. And also I have on baby Hawkeye
earrings. But there's an ulterior motive. Leanna is a 5-year-old girl who loves superheroes. And when she wears her superhero clothes to kindergarten, though the boys will tell her that superheroes are for boys. And that's not cool. Even when she wears a jacket, she keeps getting hassled about it. And so this is kind of, it's being called Wear Your Superheroes Week.
And the
Day.
The really cool thing is her 7-year-old sister kind of started this and just helped support her. So, boys and there's, hashtag Wear Your Superheroes. It's just really cool that, it's really cool that this is being done. It's really sad that it needs to be done.
Yes, I fully agree with that. And we're big people on, kind of telling people that stereotypes aren't real. We like explosions.
Yeah, things that blow up are awesome.
We like superheroes.
Yeah.
I mean, I got Deadpool. She got Hawkeye. We're not wearing, like princessy things.
The funny thing is
that's not bad.
And I've said this before. I remember being a little kid. I wanted Star Wars sheets.
And I talked about this in a previous podcast.
Yeah.
Wolverine back there is the first love of my life.
Yeah. And we went to the store. I was with my dad, and the woman was like, "Honey, those sheets are for boys." And she tried to point me toward pink things. Fun fact, my father loathes the color pink. It is not allowed in the house. Even if I wanted it, it was not allowed in the house. So my dad proceeded to ask her how many sets of twin Star Wars sheets there were. There were 3. We left with all 3 of them. So, when parents support their kids' love of whatever, no matter what it is, what gender it's technically for, because toys are toys.
Yeah. I mean, my best friend, he and I both love Sailor Moon. That's not a bad thing. And I love, Wolverine and Deadpool, and, if it's badass and it's cool, I like it. Fuck you if you think that's wrong.
Yeah. And funny thing is, now her universe, the vintage Star Wars sheet dress, it's that print. And yes, I do own it. So if you're seeing this live, put on a superhero shirt or say yay to someone who hopefully is wearing it for that reason, as opposed to it's Wednesday and comic book day as well. Yeah, but I had an older gentleman when I was getting gas go, "I like your shirt." He goes, "Hawkeye's pretty cool." he goes, I like, and he actually said, I watched Avengers and I like Jeremy Renner who played him and did it, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, he complimented not just the shirt, but actually he still watched stuff. And when I say older gentlemen, we're talking movies. So,
yeah, unfortunately, my conversation with my mom the other day was, why do you want to get that? It's for cosplay. Is that a superhero thing? Yes, Mom, it's a superhero.
Again, my mom loves my stepdad very much, but is always kind of happy when he opts out of going to the movies with her.
My mom's seen Avengers. She likes Avengers.
Oh, my mom loves Avengers. Bill has seen Avengers. He just asks questions all the way through it, and
no, that's the
it
worst.
doesn't go well.
Speaking of movies, we are reviewing
Empire Records and 10-Inch Hero.
I promise, Mom, it's not a porno.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about that until the credit title came up and my neighbor walked by going, woohoo! And I'm like, jeez. So, yeah. Though, of course, again, she walked by and the one sex scene in the movie, the door was open and I'm like, I just don't care anymore. So, it was kind of funny.
So, Empire Records, what year did that come out?
96.
That sounds correct. We'll go with that because I didn't do my research like I usually do.
Yeah, I'm saying 96 because I
Sounds right.
watched it a lot in 97.
Little backstory on you. Didn't you work in a record store at the time?
I did. I worked at Moby Disc Records in Sherman Oaks, and it is scarily accurate in places. Particularly the scene where Mark answers the phone. Empire Records were open until midnight. Midnight! I more than once answered the phone, thank you for calling Moby Disc. We're open till 11. 11 p.m. Yes, we're closing in 5 minutes. No,
you can't
I
come
won't
in.
let you in. By the way, Slim Whitman will clear a store in about 3 minutes. He yodels.
Oh,
And
well,
when
that's
you play yodel music in a warehouse type environment, really loud, it
People
echoes.
run?
That's what the goal of it was, and it pretty much worked.
That kind of reminds me of Carrie Fisher, who puts on the anniversary special of Star Wars to get people to leave her parties when she
Oh,
wants.
seriously, I just don't watch it. But no.
I'm sure there's a few that do when they go to her party. I gotta watch
It was a lot of trial and error to find out what will get people out fastest, and Slim Whitman seemed to work. But the didgeridoo was a close second. And the guys who I worked with, and most of the time I was the only female who worked there. The guys would just laugh. Or I'd stand up and be like, I have a date, you all need to leave. I don't care where you go, you can't stay here. Go to Starbucks, irritate them. They're open until midnight.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah, I'm convinced the person who wrote that line, whatever, and I'm going to get credit for her household for saying such and such stuff about this. But if you've worked retail, it's a line that is near and dear to your heart. Or at a bar.
Oh yeah.
I had a friend who was a bartender who was like, played closing time really loudly and be like, people, listen, embrace, leave.
I was at a club once where that was the closing song every night, and I'm like, okay, I could dig it. Till the third time I went there, and I'm like, okay, I get it. We're leaving.
No, but people are stupid.
This is true. People are deeply stupid, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And this movie kind of highlights some of the stupid.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite stupid?
Character?
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for Lucas.
Lucas is
Not to mention I actually had the biggest crush on Lucas for years. Like I watched CSI Miami just to look at him.
I think we'll both agree one of the best lines is, "What's with today?"
And a line that's been said. My personal favorite is, who knows where thoughts come from? They just appear. I had that on my screensaver at my old job, and it used to scare people. Not necessarily.
I think I have once called my boss superb, just hoping it would piss him off. Superb. It's like one more time. Beats the shit.
I love the whole how they dealt with shoplifters. I wish we had enough creativity to take pictures of them. Instead, I used to just go up behind them and be like, get better at stealing. So I don't notice you stuffing things down your pants and then trying to sell them and me going, ew, give them to Murph and get out. We used to, have to trash CDs because 99, when you can't sell stuff in the 99-cent bin, there's a problem. So after a while, we just pitch them, but we had to mark on them that I would put happy faces and go, ha ha ha, you tried to sell it back to us, or scratch them or whatever. And we used to have this one guy who would dumpster dive, and he would bring it in, and I'd be like, you take it out of the trash bin. We can't take it back. Oh no, I decorate all my CDs like that. And it was a day that I had just had it. Between Spice Girl CDs,
Hey.
soccer moms trying to buy Spice Girl CDs.
Nothing wrong with Spice Girls.
No, but soccer moms who scream at you when you're out of them.
Yeah.
No caffeine because I was broke and Starbucks district manager was there and we couldn't work our normal trade. And working with the manager who had sausage fingers and couldn't hit a right key to save his life. I was done. I was more than done and actually yelled at my customer.
I've yelled at a few customers, I'll be honest. I worked at Walmart, though, in North Dakota.
Seriously, the fact that you only yelled at a few, I would have been fired.
I yelled at my boss once.
Well, the funny thing is they always made me do the returns after Christmas.
Oh.
Because apparently I looked like a rabid little bat. I looked really sweet and have the personality of a rabid badger, direct quote.
More like a honey badger.
Pretty much. But this one woman came in and where we were was, our store was here, a couple little stores, street, Tower Records. You could make the walk, you could run it in 45 seconds. She brought in something. I was trying not to call her out in front of a large group of people. I'm like, man, as I'm pointing to the Tower Records sticker, I can't take this back. Yes, you can. Ma'am. And finally, after about 5 minutes of her getting more and more shrill, I went, look, chick, you bought it at Tower. Head down there. And she actually almost threw it at me. And I looked at her and I'm like, seriously, don't. The cops are next door at Starbucks and nothing will bring me more joy than watching you get dragged out of your handcuffs. That's when my manager came over and went, I think you should go on break. I'm like, you know, you stood there. He goes, it was quite entertaining. But I think you should go on break now. And I think you should leave and go return it to Tower. Bye. It was rather impressive when a 6'3" guy would say that and she kind of scampered off. But yes, I love Empire Records. It makes me happy. The soundtrack is amazing. And it is fairly true to life. But not in the, oh, it's sad, in the, oh, dear God, those people actually exist. And they shop at a record store.
That's true.
And I liked how they, had veto rights for
Yes.
each other's music. That would have been useful.
Ow, excuse me. Ow, excuse me. Bink. I just love that scene where she's just like walking through the mosh pit going, ow, excuse me. Ow, excuse me.
Makes customers all crazy like. Yes, yeah. Steely Dan didn't like anyway and worked there when Donald Fagen's Camarade solo album first came out. Yeah, that's stupid twice. Shift.
So what did you think of the Rex Manning side of it all?
We had in store, and we had one sleazy dude who I will not name come in. No.
You'll tell me afterwards?
Yes. And he actually went from hitting on who set it up, who he should have been afraid of her. Everyone else was. I was terrified. To hitting on someone else who I worked with at the time that who knows what happened. To hitting on me, and I'm like, no. And he seemed to, kind of look at everyone as his own personal playground, and ew. Also, I worked when the Spice Girls came out.
If you want to be my lover, gotta get with my
It
friends.
still makes me twitch. My manager held it up and said, this is going to be the album of the year. And I'm like, you suck. There is no way that's going to happen. He's like, bet me 5 items off your shelf. Any 5. And that was a frequent bet that we had a shelf. And actually, if you ever got to shop through the employees' whole shelves, it was the best music in the store because we were fighting it. But when he said 5 items, that included any box set, movie, whatever.
Ooh.
And I made that bet, and yeah, I lost that bet. That bet was painful to lose.
Because you got to spice up your life. I can't help myself.
Spice Girls are just evil.
Hey, I love the Spice Girls.
You know, now, retrospect, there are worse things.
When you whisper, fans can't hear you.
There are possibly worse things. I just can't think of what they are right now. It was overproduced.
I know it's worse, Street Fighter.
I liked Street Fighter.
You're the only one.
Ruben liked Street Fighter.
Yeah, Jonathan wants to have words with him over that.
Well, Julia, it was good. But okay. And but the soundtrack was awesome. The soundtrack was a lot of fun.
The actors were great. In fact, this is one of the few movies that is, I watched it as a teenager and went, Dad, you have to watch it. And my dad could watch it with me and actually get something out of it.
My mom also liked it, but I think part of that was Anthony LaValle. However you say his name. She kind of,
Well, that whole, my parents told me I couldn't amount to anything and proving them wrong. My dad did that.
Yeah.
So, it was really cool for my dad to, see other people do what he kind of did.
Yeah.
It took a while for my dad too, but, he's doing great now.
It was also kind of cool they had,
Neighbor number 1 in the background.
Yes. They also had, the female characters, they were a little stereotypical, but they tried.
I like how they gave, the perfect girl, a breakdown.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few movies actually like Liv Tyler.
Yeah, and how, and it is true because later there were females working there. We didn't always get along, but we always did try and help one another for the most part.
Did love. There were 2 scenes with
give me a character name and I can read that.
Shaved Head, help me out.
Oh,
Deb.
Deb, yeah.
Deb, and the shorter your skirt.
You know what? I can just think Renee Zellweger.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't think of her name. So
I blank every time.
So she, you're snipping at each other. It's like, gee, it's like the shorter your hair gets,
Yeah, and the
and
shorter
then
your
skirt gets. It's like, they're super mean to each other. And then later they're like bitching at each other, but they're both really angry at the situation. They're like, let's not fight, let's rip. And they're ripping up their contracts. And it was like, cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And then Deb helped, Liv Tyler's character when she lost her goddamn gourd.
Yeah. And, went crazy and started stabbing things. And, there were days. But part of that is also being in your late teens, early 20s and working in that kind of environment. I
actually had a breakdown at Walmart where I lost it. And it was past midnight. It was past my shift over. And I had like the worst night and my boss was being a dick. And this one lady who apparently, because I didn't smile as I rang everything up in her 2 shopping carts of things and gave her daughter the toy and asked her if she wanted me to double bag certain things, was super awesome. But I didn't smile, therefore I need to be fired. So after all that crap went down, I went outside and there was nobody there. And I just went, ah!
We had boxes set up in the back to kick.
I wasn't allowed to have a box cutter after my first year working at Walmart.
I wasn't allowed to have one, but I'm a klutz. So
yeah, I love her dearly, but this is truth.
I had a permanent bruise on my hip, actually both sides. We had to have a railing for disabled access. Seriously, I'm 5'3". It hit me at hip level. You would think after the first week I would notice it was there. No. I had permanent bruises. And to the point where one of the managers would do this without looking. I'd walk, he'd grab, move, shove. And I'm like, thanks, Howard. And this was normal. I mean, I think even after I stopped working there, I went in and Howard did it one day and like this woman got really offended. He manhandled you. I'm like, yes, he did. So I wouldn't add to the bruise that's on my hip from working here for 3 years. You know, it wasn't done out of meanness.
And
it was done out of, I'm tired of hearing, ow! Or other things come out.
And that really reminded me of the guy who was the manager.
Joe.
Joe was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And he kind of treated everybody like his kids in a way.
Whether he wanted them
You know, you always have a couple brats. If you have that many kids, you got a couple brats that you're just like, those fuckers.
He did have a really special relationship with Lucas.
He has a special relationship with Lucas, and I felt like he was extremely protective of all of them, especially Deb, when, you know, he had certain conversations with her, and he's like, by the way, you're doing a really good job. And, you know, sometimes when you're in that deep of a depression, being told that actually is a lot.
Well, and when he said, do you want me to call your mom? She goes, yeah, that'd be great. You know, I tell her, hi, I've been trying to find, and he looked like he would. I said the most horrible, wrong thing I could have said. And I felt truly bad.
I did too. Yeah. And when he beat up Lucas, it kind of reminded me of my dad's beating up my brothers when they were truly, truly, truly dipshits.
Yeah, you know, violence is not normally a good thing, but sometimes,
it's necessary.
Unfortunately, I have guy friends who have said, it caused me to look at things a little differently. I'm like, well, but overall, you know, in AJ in art school and Warren, I loved how Warren, you know, gets trotted off to jail, but then he comes back.
And he has a job!
And when he looked at the guy and went, I work here, we had regular customers who pretty much did that. And actually, I'm still really good friends with one of them. And I've known him forever and blah, blah, blah. And there were times I'm like, seriously, they could bring people up probably better than my coworkers. But, you know, they would shelve stuff. And, you know, we had people come in and try to steal. And one of my regulars had a very large dog. And DJ was very sweet. And he was an Irish setter, very sweet dog. Dumber than a stump. That's okay. DJ growl. And he'd sound like this hellhound. But he also had touch commands where you could, you know, like be holding his collar and then kind of go. And he would sit and 5 was growl. I used to go up to the little punks who were trying to steal CDs and do that. And he'd be like, one of them almost peed his pants and he ran. But as he was running, the CDs fell out of his pants. That was great.
And didn't that happen when Lucas was chasing Warren? You know, stop, a bunch of CDs would fall out and he's like trying to grab, but he's trying to run.
And when he holds up Whitney Houston, come on. Yeah, I used to mock them for what they were trying to steal. The only time I didn't is this guy was
my girlfriend.
Yeah, this guy was sitting on the floor slicing open CDs with a box cover. And I went, hey, dude, come on. Because, stands up, I hit him right here, and I'm like, carry on. And I turned around and walked back in front. Grabbed one of the kids who was a regular. I'm like, go get Rich. He's over at Starbucks and tell him to call the cops. Because that, I'm not handling.
But disclaimer, she's built low to the ground.
I'm 5'3". However, I've got a voice that I could get the guys out of the back room with the door closed and not have to turn down the music.
I have 4 older brothers and a father. They're all mildly frightened of me.
They installed the buzzer system so I wouldn't yell at them anymore. And it wasn't a scream. I mean, I had regular customers and they're going, holy crap, you can project. I'm like, yeah, many years of vocal training.
Diaphragm.
Yes, and just,
yeah, just bring it from here and comes on out.
So yes, Empire Records, no matter what, will always hold a special place in my heart. If you haven't seen it and you're in the mood to take a trip down 90s memory lane of music, definitely do it. it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
Johnny Whitworth, I can
I always blank on all their names. Horrible.
Rory Cochrane, Renee Zellweger, Liv Tyler, chick from The Mentalist that I can't.
I swear to
remember
God,
her
that's
name.
exactly how I think of her. I think it's like
Um,
Lori or something like that.
She was in The Craft too.
Yeah.
I mean, I can literally see everything but her name in credits.
Where?
Anthony LaPaglia, Debbie Mazar, you know, and Maxwell Caulfield, who, yes, perfectly played a sleazy has-been. No, it's not the greatest movie in the world, but it is a ton of fun.
It's the greatest movie in the world if you have the mindset.
And if you've worked in a record store, there will be things that you're like, oh, God.
Even just retail in general.
Yeah. But a few things specifically.
Yeah.
You know, the veto system, I loved it. I wish we'd had it. We didn't. We just had to suffer through everyone's playlist.
It makes them crazy.
You could actually kind of put on different music on Saturday afternoons and either amp up customers or make them very quiet. And if I was hungover, it would be the very quiet one.
So let's see if we can make a top 10 quotes, because this movie is so quotable, it's ridiculous, but it's awesome.
Who knows where thoughts come from? They just appear.
What's with today?
Don't ask me to explain my art to you, Warren.
Not on Rex Manning Day.
They're all like jumbled in my head. The shorter your skirt gets, the smarter you get.
See here, I'm gonna get him. Harvard.
Yes. Don't drop the soap, Warren.
What are you gonna do next? I'm gonna puke.
I need number 10, so come up with one more.
Okay. This goes out to our employee of the week,
Lucas. And my favorite in the movie, asshole. If you've worked retail, you will understand. You will just embrace that.
Oh yes.
So
moving on. Empire Records was the 90s. Moving into today. In 2007, actually, this movie was made, but it did not get really viewed much. I mean, it made it to a couple film festivals, and it was well liked. It's a great movie, but for whatever reason, they had a really hard time finding a way to get it, past that. So eventually, it took about 3 years, actually, and Blockbuster made it a Blockbuster exclusive.
they could do that.
Look at the DVD. It says Blockbuster exclusive at the top.
Okay.
They can do that.
Cool.
Just like Netflix has House of Cards.
Yeah, but Netflix created that. It's their own in-house.
But it was pitched to a bunch of networks before it was pitched to.
Yeah, but it's still now it's their baby.
Yeah, so basically, from what I understand, from, the technical end of all of it, is that 10-inch was not produced, but run through the rest of the process to be put onto DVD by Blockbuster.
Okay, so they had distribution rights and all
Yes.
that. Okay. Cool.
Finding it can be difficult. You can still get it as a Blockbuster exclusive online, which is how I yelled at my family to order it for me for Christmas. And I do mean yelled.
Sidebar, it has Jensen Ackles, and if you know Vanessa, she's a Supernatural fan. So am I, actually. Really enjoy Supernatural.
Jensen Ackles autograph. I don't care that Jared's here. It's all about Jensen. Yeah, I'm a huge Jensen fan. That's actually why I wanted to watch this movie, because I noticed that he was in an indie movie, and I always, check out what he's in. My Bloody Valentine. He's played some weird roles. But this one, I think it's second best to his role on Supernatural. And that's actually saying something because I'm also a huge fan of Dark Angel, which he played Ben and Alec separately, respectively. They were twins.
Okay.
Dark Angel. Can't really see it, but yeah, there you go. He's so cute and young. Anyway, so
12 at the end of this one too.
yeah, because I actually hate, that's the one part of the movie I actually have a lot of criticism about. But let's go into a brief explanation of the movie. So you've got 5 young adults and an older adult, basically like
Who was played by John Doe?
he's awesome. He really is.
Yes, I about croaked when I'm like, holy crap, lead singer Bex is playing an old man. This is awesome.
And he plays an old hippie too.
Yes.
It's even better. And he's got what did they call it? The Cosmobile. Okay,
Yeah.
I love the Cosmobile. Okay, so they're all working in a sandwich shop. That's why it's called 10-inch Hero. It's not a porno. It's subs by the inch. So yeah, that.
And they
title.
had some of the jackass. No, they did that on purpose though. They had some of the same jackass customer like people that Empire had. So.
Oh, I worked in a sandwich shop right after Walmart, when the last job I had in North Dakota. I hate my life. I moved back for a reason. So I was there for 3 years. For 2 of them, I worked at Walmart, and for the last year, for a couple months, I worked at a sandwich shop. And we had customers that would come and going, I want a hard salami, 12 inches each. You know, we totally had those dipshits that tried to hit on me via their sub order. Let me tell you one thing. It's not hot. It's douchey. It is. So they all work in a sub shop, but they all got their own personal dramas going on. A lot like Empire Records in the way, you know, everybody has a developed character and a storyline, and everybody's kind of more or less a kid of the owner guy.
Yeah. And it was fun seeing him and his crush car, you know, who was across the street. He was like, you know, and it was very sweet. I mean, yes, they were a little heavy-handed with the artist, the rebel, the slut, the shy computer girl.
It was a little
heavy-handed.
Yeah. But while it was heavy-handed, the storylines were interesting.
Yes, and Sean Patrick Flannery.
That was another reason I picked up that movie.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I will say it was fairly predictable, but again, so is Empire, but it's still enjoyable.
Yes. And it also has great soundtrack.
Yeah, it really
I love
does.
the opening song. I love all the music. It's really great.
Yeah.
What stuck out for me most in this movie was kind of that sisterhood feeling.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. And I didn't get that much from Empire.
No.
It was a family feel, in a way.
It was a dysfunctional family.
I love dysfunctional families. This one's a dysfunctional family too,
Yes.
but it had a nice sisterly connection between the girls. They weren't really catty at all.
No.
Even though they had the opportunity with one of the characters who was a slut to be catty.
But they weren't. They were just more like this is who she is, so okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, let's talk about Tish for like 5 seconds. So Tish is your slut character. Token slut.
yeah, and you know what? We're not slut shaming at all. by the way.
No.
But how she went about it, I wasn't very happy with.
No.
It.
She told every guy that so much as looked at her interested that she had never achieved an orgasm.
Yeah.
Just so they would try their hardest when she had sex with them.
Yeah. But wow, the scene where she got her comeuppance was absolutely a thing of beauty.
It was. Because while she, you know, was kind of shallow and whatnot, she wasn't going to, you know, let people control her.
No. And you say what you want about, you know, okay, our use of the word slut, whatever, but she was, to put a better spin on it, very sex positive,
Okay, yeah.
but not necessarily in a way that made me,
Okay, she was not a
Happy.
classy sex positive person.
no, but it wasn't even that. It was more of a, I'm going to get what I can get and bail. And yeah, you know, it's clever twist on whatever, but
It's kind of like you know, guys who, you know, just hit it and quit it. She was kind of a hit and quit it type girl.
Yeah.
But she stayed with this one guy who ended up being like the world's worst guy, obviously. And then she's like, you know, oh, I need to date a nice guy. And here's the guy who's been there the whole time and it had such a ducky feeling.
Yeah, like hardcore, almost too hardcore. But the scene, and we're not going to spoil it. You need to watch it just for the tampon scene.
Yes.
Because that.
Yes.
It
is the world's best.
I have a male best friend, and he would never, no matter if he get, you know, married, girlfriend, me, best friend, that would never happen.
Fun fact, my dad, I have 4 older brothers. My dad, he remarried, and I had a stepsister for several years. She's 10 years and 2 days older than me, and the biggest bitch I've ever known. Anyway, so she would be like, oh, Dennis, go get me tampons. I'm married. And he'd be like, here's $5. Me, I'm like, oh, I hurt a little. I think I need pads. My dad runs to the store, gets me like 1,000.
I've only dated one guy who had to go buy them for me, and I had to give him credit. He went by the crap. And he pretty much bought one of everything. And when I say one of everything, I'm talking pads, tampons, Midol, whatever else. And
Pamprin.
He also brought home Mountain Dew and the most ho-hos and ice cream, because he was like, I'm covering all the bases, and there's also French fries. Here you go. I will be back in like 5 days because you're and laugh. And you know, my best friend comes over, she goes, what the hell? And I'm like, and yes, by the way, that is not a stereotype. That is not accurate for all women every month. But occasionally, I understand why the PMS like stereotype exists, because I'll freely admit it's gotten better as I've gotten older, but in my 20s, I could be a psychotic bitch. And scared coworkers.
I had a boyfriend once tell me that I woke up, rolled over, and steamrolled him with estrogen.
Not a bad line.
He was quite clever. He called me his Kool-Aid.
Ah, yes. You've talked about this one.
Yeah. One of the few ex-boyfriends I actually like, still to this day.
But it's a fun movie. The soundtrack is good. It's a bit predictable. It's predictable in a lot of places.
But it's fun.
But it's fun, predictable.
Yes. And my biggest criticism is actually the ending. I like a lot of the different ways, and I won't spoil everything. I will, however, spoil. Jensen Ackles went from mohawk colored differently in every day to hair down. I bought clothes at Banana Republic so I can ask you out. Don't change who you are.
He wasn't. He had grown. See, to me, and I interpret that as he was ready to be seen. He was ready to be seen. See, not the mask that he had used. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but the hair, the wearing the kilt, the quirky T-shirts, that was
orgasm
also,
donor. Ask me how.
That was also defense mechanism not to let anybody close.
Yeah, but I know so many people where that's just who they are, and to me, he's not Banana Republic.
No, he's not. But he was trying.
Yeah, and I get that, but the thing is that if I were Tish and he came in, first off, I'd die of shock. Second off, I'd go like, put your mohawk back. I want to date you, not whoever you're trying to be. Do you need... So we're going to experience technical difficulties for 5 seconds while Stephanie goes and retrieves the ability to breathe. So yeah, you're gonna get me for a couple minutes. So yeah, so that's my biggest criticism, is that I felt that it was a moment where he was trying to be what he thought she wanted versus just who he was. everybody takes it differently. That's how I take it, because I've done that when I've dated guys where, I dated a guy once and he's like, I don't really like the whole makeup thing you do. So I stopped wearing makeup and I stopped wearing dresses, and, because he liked my grunge look better. And I missed wearing dresses and feeling pretty. I mean, I'm usually a jeans and t-shirt. She could tell you, I'm a jeans and t-shirt kind of girl, but I like dressing up and feeling pretty.
Yeah. Well, no, and I just also remember that of where he kind of was, because he looked around and no, he wasn't comfortable with himself like that. But maybe there comes a point for most of us where we can't have, well, maybe now, but I couldn't have always had like multicolored hair at work, depending on the environment you work in. And we never really saw them outside of work. So we don't know, with the exception of Piper, what their aspirations, where they were going in life.
Yeah, they didn't really have goals career-wise, like, one wanted to go to Harvard, one wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
They were kind of like, this is where I work.
Yeah.
And that was okay, too, because, not everybody has great aspirations. I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad that your only aspiration is to work, but maybe, Trucker hands over the keys to Priestley eventually.
Yeah. And
I think a cute shit like that.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. John Doe, again.
And Alice Curl, I can't pronounce her last name, but she's amazing.
And it was a fun movie. It won't take you anywhere new, but you'll enjoy it. Plus, it's filmed up in Santa Cruz, and it's absolutely gorgeous to look at. Clea Duvall was a lot of fun. She's one of those actresses that I either really like her in a role or I can't stand her in a role.
I have to agree with that.
And I liked her in this one.
I will say this. The thing that drew me into this movie was the Help Wanted sign.
Normal people need not apply. And yeah.
If I ever see that, I don't care what the job is, I'm going in for it.
To this day, I don't remember going into Moby to fill out the application. I remember the call, and I got the call because my birthday was the same day as the store opening.
Oh, wow.
That was how I got called to work there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if you are stuck on a desert island and you get to watch one of these two movies for the rest of your life,
and
I'm going to say 10-inch because it just gets me.
And Empire also, I have fond memories of watching. The only time I've been fired from a job in my adult life. I got fired. I was still working at the record store part-time, so I really wasn't jobless. I am now.
If you're looking to hire.
I'm awesome at office work. But I, watched it then. It was a lot of fun. And there were a couple things that was really funny looking at. Like, there's a logo that they use in Empire. Honestly, it looks like such a ripoff of the Moby logo. The first time I watched it, I went, yeah. And there were a lot of little things that reminded me of it. But, yeah, Empire Records will always hold a special place.
And Jensen Ackles will always be my favorite actor. So, there's that.
Yes.
That helps. It really does.
Oh, I had such the crush on Rory Cochrane. I had drugged my best friend to a Paley Fest panel of CSI Miami. Just so I could see him in person. She was like,
really?
This? David Caruso? Really? All right.
Hold on.
I actually saw him do that. I worked in, and it was during his NYPD Blue days. Okay, if you have heard of the San Fernando Valley, honestly, seeing actors, actresses, whatever, is not a big deal because they're around and you get to the point where you just don't care. Unless you're a friend of ours and you text everybody, oh my God, Matt Boomer just walked in front of my car. Okay, that, I mean, you'd be like, I had a friend who, Alec Baldwin, came in their store to ask where something was, and she lost the ability to speak. And this is a woman who I have seen her, I never saw her lose the ability to speak. James Spader came in the store I worked at, one of the nicest guys on the planet.
And hottest.
Oh yeah, no, what, you know, I mean, the best story ever was playing Tom Petty's Greatest Hits. Being on the floor, changing out the CD, my manager and I figuring out what we're going to play. We look up, Tom Petty is standing on the opposite side of the counter. We're like this. Hmm? And John Taylor from Duran Duran coming in on a Saturday afternoon. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So yeah, when you work in the ballet, you get used to seeing people. And I lost where I was going with this. Crap.
You were talking about filming, I think.
Filming and seeing just all the different things and seeing the different people, you know, customers coming in. It just reminded me of all the things, all the people that you see and you appreciate seeing up close. And the people you're like, I don't ever want to see you again.
So, as always, I like to end things on a completely unrelated note. Not completely unrelated, but mostly. So we recommend something that has nothing to do with movies. So we're recommending music. And do you have your recommendations out there?
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place this week.
I love all over the place stuff.
A very fun punk band that my boyfriend turned me on to is Against Me, and they're San Diego. And interesting backstory is the lead singer was a guy, and now she's a woman. And the latest album is all about that and how she dealt with it and how the band dealt with it. And they're amazing live. And the CD's a lot of fun. I want to say it's called Transgender Blues. But if you look up, cool. Yeah, if you look up Against Me, you'll find it.
One of my recommendations is The Nationals. She knows I play them a little too often sometimes. It's just that type of music that just kind of, you can either just be really emotional or really mellow. Like, the music allows you to be what you want to be when you listen to it. Okay. So that's one of the, and it's also really good music to have when you're reading, because you can get lost in the instrumentals really easy, and that's a good thing when you're reading. So it's one of the few. That and I always accidentally say One Direction, and I don't mean to. One Republic.
Yeah, I would have been like, huh? What?
Yeah, totally good. Oh my god!
Well, and okay, in One Republic, and since I have like flashback to the 90s, check out Paul Weller's first album. It British, interesting, did the mod thing with the band The Jam. Cool album. There's a lot of different songs on it, and that doesn't make sense, but
if you ever want to rock out to the weirdest thing, that's the funnest thing, and you've somehow managed to live this far and not heard of it, Rock Lobster.
If you haven't heard of the B-52s, I you know, there's something.
So yeah. Those are our recommendations. That's a review. You're crazy. I'm insane. We're all crazy. So that's how I want to sign off, is we've been crazy.
Yes. Bye.